No. Is this working? There we go. All right, I guess we'll start out here. Just recently, Darren and I and Julie and Darcy, we went down to Ventura, California for the NARBA convention, and we met with Miles Ryder with Driscoll and Janice, her last name from Sunbelt, Scott Norman and Hillary from NatureRipe, and then representative of NARBA, and discussed with them about doing some health research studies in conjunction with us. In the past, it's basically just been us that's funding research projects, public research projects, and promotion. So we're trying to get some of these fresh market guys to kick in a few dollars to kind of help us out with some of this. And so anyway, we had a meeting down there with them for about an hour or two, and so far it sounds like most of them are in favor of funding a 3-year study on health benefits of blackberries. And so maybe we can get a few bucks out of theirs to kind of help move along some of this fruit as well. One other thing I wanted to touch on here is I had a question from a black raspberry grower here recently about what the Commission's doing for them. Basically, they thought we did nothing for them, but we do actually have a project going with a guy named Gary Stoner. You can go online and pull up his work. He's been doing health benefit research for black raspberries for, gosh, what now, 15 years, 20 years? It's been quite a long time. And he does have a lot of stuff published. And so we're, the Commission, you guys and us, we're putting in, I think, $20,000 a year for 3 years on a health benefits project he's working on too. And then also we Chad, on black raspberries, Chad is probably start out with 200 varieties or more of black raspberries, trying to come up with something that will produce a little more tonnage and last more than a couple of years. And he told me here last week that he's got it narrowed down to 8 new varieties that show promise, and we've been helping to fund that project for the last several years too. So that's a couple things that the Commission has been working on. And if you're interested in all the projects that we fund, either the research projects or the promotion projects, you're certainly welcome to contact Philip at the Commission, and he'll give you any information that you want. All right, I'll pass it on to Darren.
Could you guys just introduce yourself? What you go to?
I'm Darren Sin. I'm a commissioner. Yeah, just to reiterate what Ken was saying about the NARBA meeting, I think the fresh packers, their tone about the health research was that they feel like blackberries are riding the wave of health research done by the other commodities like blueberries and raspberries, strawberries. So there was some hesitancy there, but I think that they're on board. I mean, we've been funding as a commission, we've been funding our own research, and in some ways you could take it that they're saying that they ride the wave of research we've been doing too. But I think that if we can get them to get on board and help fund the project, it'll be good for the whole industry in general. I guess if we're just, the other thing that as a commission we're aware of and we're looking at what we can do about is continuing to push to get access to Asian markets for export product, and also in that we want to get equal access to those export markets for Oregon, and our competitors, our main IQF competitor in the world market is Chile, and they have a lot of free trade agreements with countries that we don't have. Either if we have access to, we have high tariffs with. So that's continuing to be on our priority of things that we're looking into. It's tricky to navigate, and sometimes the amount of resources we have and how we have to spread them out between research for farm research and for promotion, and we don't have maybe the dollars to go and lobby and push as as much as we need to do to get some of these major projects done. But it is something that we're continuing to look at and trying to find ways that we can maximize your dollars and see if we can help in those areas. That's about all I have here.
Hi, my name is Linda Strand, and I'm a commissioner, and I focus on the promotion for the commission. And I'm with Columbia Empire Farms, and so my background is we farm as well as produce products. So my specialty is sales of berry products, hazelnut products, and ways to move local product. So I guess I wanted to just tell you that about myself, because when I came on board with the commission as a commissioner, that was one of my expertise, and so I try hard to bring that expertise to the meetings. And when questions come up about particular markets, customers, and ways to move forward, that's my viewpoint. And I'm real pleased to hear about Ken and Darren's trip. I apologize, I wasn't at the last commission meeting, so I didn't get to hear it firsthand. And I just know how important health research is in marketing. It's really important to tout those. You want to be able to actually point at a study when you're doing your marketing that has that credibility. And Blueberries has had that money and been able to do that for years. And Blackberries hasn't had it, and it would really be a boon to our marketing if that was something that we could also tap into. The promotion budget, I think one of the things that the commission did a very good job with about 6-7 years ago, I'm not exactly sure the year, but we have the money so that we are not budgeting from year to year, but we have a carryover. And so we have money on a lean year to continue to market. And any ideas you have about marketing, please don't hesitate to email them into Darcy or any one of the commissioners. We would love as much input from the market as we can get. Don't ever think that your idea is too small. If it's going to help other growers figure out ways to sell their fruit at a higher price, that's what we're all about. So, thanks.
My name's Wayne Boxler. I farm in the Mount Angel area. My son and I, our family raise blackberries. That's our commission crop, if you will. One thing I'd like to, did anybody have a chance to pick this up? This is one of the papers out front there. That's been our last 3 years of assessment. And if you happen to look at, I'll just go over it briefly here, the 2015 crop. I'm talking blackberries right now. 2015 crop, we had 49,769,000 pounds. And then we jump up to 2016 and we had, again, blackberries, 53,362,000 pounds. And then last year, 2017 crop, of course, you know what happened there. We dropped down and we were at the 37,861,000 pounds. So, you know, we felt it on our farm. I think most everybody felt what happened last year. And then, of course, previous year, 2016, is when we had the big crop and the price reflected that. So, you know, we're, as farmers, of course, we like to see everything up, pounds and price, but, you know, we've got to live in the real world. So, of course, we have to take into consideration, again, talk to your packers. What do they want? What does the industry want? How much do they want? When do they want it? What year would they like you to put that acreage in? It all works together. We're all part of the success and the failure of price and tonnage. And again, just be aware of that if you would. One of the other things that I'm involved in as far as the commissioners, I represent the raspberries and blackberries from Oregon. As a commission member, I'm part of the liaison committee for the Northwest Center for Small Fruit Research. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's Oregon, Washington, Idaho. Group of scientists, I believe there's 9 now. Most are based in Corvallis. believe it's 2 in Washington. I think 2 in Idaho, 1 in Washington. It's for research, small fruit research. I just got back, the group of us just got back from DC last week. We were there for 5 days. We talked to USDA and NIFA and ARS, and then of course we meet with all the offices of Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, our congressmen and senators. And sometimes we meet the congressmen and senators, sometimes not. Generally, it's 40% of the time we get to talk directly with them. Some of them are really on board with it. Actually, all the offices like what we do. They have told us many times that they really appreciate us coming back. And of course, I think that anybody that shows up in their office is going to hear that probably. But USDA uses the Small Food Center as a model of what can be done across the nation for research. We were a little unique in that we didn't quite fit the model with ARS of ARS being in control of everything and how it's spent. But the Small Food Center has showed over time that, I'll use this term a little loosely, that we can best do what we want to do with the funds locally and regionally, if you will. And they have accepted that over time, and they have really said that, I mean, they haven't directly said this, but I think they know that we're probably doing a little bit better job than they would of actually spending those dollars, because we're in place, we're on site. It's farmers that are asking for these things to be done. So they really like what we do, and that is really neat to hear. I've been going back there for, I think, about 13 years now. Some of the people on the liaison committee have been there since the start, 20-some years. And they really like what we're doing. So that's just a little something that I do as a commissioner, and I'll probably just keep doing it until they say I can't go back.
Anybody got any questions?
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
Is there any work to be done on a US or a Blackberry?
Oh, the national RP, yeah, good question. Okay, so what happened on that is we contacted all the other entities that are larger.
Why don't you explain to folks what it is?
Okay, yeah, sorry. So probably 3 years ago, NARBA is the North American Raspberry and Blackberry Association, and they're a group of mostly fresh market growers on the East Coast, and they approached us to form a national R&P, which is Research and Promotion Organization, where everybody in the United States, plus all the imported fruit, would pay a fee on their production, just like we do to the Oregon Commission. And then we would use that money to do promotion and research. But we went to USDA. USDA said somebody had to put up $120,000 bond, I believe it was, and then they would start the project. And if any major producer or entity refused to cooperate, then the whole thing was nixed, and any money that the USDA had spent by that time working on getting this all started was lost. And so before we went into that, to try to get it created, we did a informal poll of different producers, and Driscoll's is, they produce 40% of the total production of blackberries coming into the United States. They said no, they didn't want to participate, and so at that point, it was over. Any other questions or anything?
But that was kind of the reason you were following up when you talked about visiting with these other folks.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons we were trying to get them. Even though it's not an assessment on their production like it would have been with a national RP, that was one of the reasons we are trying to partner up with them to do the health research, is to actually get some funding without them being committed long-term to an assessment, an annual assessment.
I don't know the first answer. I don't
don't know the first answer as I wasn't there, but I had was visiting with Darcy. Can you tell us a little bit about, because the room that you guys got to visit with the big guys in was a pretty favorable meeting, and although the national RFP isn't going to going forward, some of the big guys were interested in helping with financing that research, which is what you were touching on to begin with, and I wasn't in the room. Can you?
The big guys, yeah, they are. And you know, I hate to say it, but I got a real education down there. I mean, sitting in a meeting with half a dozen different producers down there, and they're talking about H2A workers, and the one guy, he says, I'm just a small grower here, and we just started using H2A workers last year. We have 850 acres of strawberries, 260 acres of blueberries, and 60 acres of blackberries. We're going to try them out. And I'm looking at that guy going, oh my God, you know, 1,200 some acres of berries, and you're a little guy? And I'm looking at my own operation going, gee, man, Krause, what are we into here? And so anyway, yeah, they have issues, but when you're on that big of a scale, it's a lot easier to hire somebody full-time to do the paperwork and take care of all the regulations and stuff when you're bringing in 500 H2A workers instead of the guy who's raising 50 acres of blackberries and wondering how you're going to get them trained up. So maybe that's something we should think about as a group here, is to you know, somehow try to build an organization together, a marketing organization or something, so that we have a little bit of leverage or a little bit of size as an entity or an industry, instead of being a group of rebellious little growers out beating each other up.
Yeah, I mean, I think the tone of the meeting was that as long as we weren't requesting too much money, you know, they were on board. But frankly, we need them more than they need us. Well, so we're speaking about the large fresh operations, so Driscoll's,
Sunbell,
Hortifruit, yeah.
Nature Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're on board for this research. And really, what we were requesting was not. I mean, we're talking about, what is it, $200,000 a year from the whole industry. With well, it's a $600,000 spread across 3 years. So they, you know, Miles Ryder was there, who's the part owner of Driscoll's, and he was, you know, he quick did the calculation on what that was going to cost him a pound. I think it was less than 1/10 of a penny a pound or something. And he's like, well, you know, I've heard of, you know, that's nothing. So, you know, they're on board for that. But as far as doing an assessment or doing a national RMP program, I don't think they're, yeah, they don't have any interest really to work with us in the process industry and with each other too, you know, to work on something like that. So.
One other thing you might want to keep in mind, you know, our blackberry production in Oregon has been basically flat for years, or maybe even decreasing. I think we're stuck on that 50 million pound mark. Fresh sales of blackberries in the United States last year, according to Driscoll's, was 186 million pounds. And 20 years ago, fresh blackberry sales in the United States was like 4 million. And so you can kind of see the writing on the wall. I mean, people basically love fresh fruit. They're not so thrilled about buying frozen. I can't figure out quite why. But unfortunately for us, you know, as this fresh market expands, anything that's not good enough quality to make it onto the shelf as a fresh berry ends up going into a drum and sent up here for whatever price they can get out of it. And that's going to affect us more and more as the fresh production grows and there's more sort outs going into into the freezer market because there's an oversupply or off quality or something like that.
Yeah, just to comment on that, I think that is key. The stats that Ken said about the fresh growth, the pound growth that they've been experiencing is key to their reservation of doing that. They don't feel the need to do more promotion or national R&P or even health promotion. They feel like everything's going great. They're expanding production and the fresh market is expanding at a rapid rate. So our two industries are kind of in different phases. You know, we're mature. We've been lacking growth, frankly, for several years, and we're looking to try to kickstart. How do we drive blackberries, frozen blackberries, or blackberries in general, so that we can grow more here in Oregon? But their areas, their regions of where they're growing are pretty healthy.
Kid or Derek or somebody, what of that, was it, how many millions of pounds again, Ken? 186 million pounds of fresh. How much of that is domestic and how much of that is foreign? You have a
186 million pounds is domestic, or it's almost all of it's imported, but sold in the United States.
yeah.
That's the sales numbers of fresh in the United States, but percentage-wise, I mean, I guess maybe 20 million pounds comes out of California, but the rest of that is going to be Mexican products.
Do you have any projections on where that's going over the next 5 years? Any idea? I mean, is this stuff...
Well, Driscoll's thought that the production would probably increase somewhere close to 20% a year.
What Miles Ryder had his, he was talking about maybe 500 million pounds of blackberries by 2025.
And that's just their fresh market, which means they're going to have a certain more percentage going in their sort outs that competes directly with us.
I think to that, Tom, I think that it's all more important for our growers to be targeting the IQF market. And Nick and I were talking earlier here, and just the secondary pack. So your Breeze, your Jam, we're going to continue to face people, mixing imported product with our product, or that's going to continue to happen. Probably happen in a larger scale. So I think it's even more important that growers are putting, trying to hit the IQF market and staying on top of the spraying, and so that we can pack as much IQF quality fruit from a pack side.
I guess if there's any positives to take out of this trip to California, what's the guy's name? Diego, the guy that was from Anaberries. I think of. Anyway, he had quite a few pictures of the berries in Mexico, and it's kind of unique the way they. Okay, Driscoll's has berries in Mexico, and I'm not talking about their production. It's all top-notch stuff. But the local Mexican producers down there, each producer got the opportunity to use 2.6 hectares of land from the government for they rented, I guess you'd say. And those people, which there were several growers, had planted it all blackberries, and they last about 6 or 7 years, and then they would take it out and replant blackberries. And Diego had some pictures of their berries down there. They look absolutely terrible. He said their production when they first planted blackberries on those lands was running about 19 tons per hectare, which comes out to be about 7 or 8 tons per acre. I think it was 2.6 acres an hectare. And now their average production last year was 5 tons per hectare, which puts them down to about 10 3/4 per acre. And the Mexican farmers down there don't have sprayers or tractors or stuff. It's mostly done by hand. They use or backpack sprayers. And so they really don't have the ability or the knowledge to kind of correct the problems they're dealing with. So I don't really expect the Mexican production from the Mexican farmers to be an issue now in the upcoming years. But of course, bigger corporations like Driscoll's down there, they're they're gonna do things right, do things with fumigants, they'll take care of that problem.
The one thing I want to add that is on the positive side, if Driscoll's is right and they go up to 500 million pounds of frozen berries, blackberries being sold in the United States. What did I say? Oh, fresh. I meant to say fresh. That's a lot more people eating blackberries. And from a marketing standpoint, that many more people eating blackberries means they're going to be demanding more blackberry products. Blackberry products are made from frozen blackberries. And it's important for you to talk to your packers. Are they, I don't know if you feel comfortable doing this, but I would feel comfortable doing this. Talk to them about who are they going to for customers. You know, there's, considering all the products that are made from frozen fruit, every year, the buyers that are making decisions about menus, about the products their company is going to make, are basing those decisions on what they think is going to be possibly the cheapest or median priced, and what the consumer wants. And if the consumer's eating that many fresh blackberries, there's companies out there that are going to be pushed into doing that flavor profile and including some of that flavor in whatever they're making. And I mean whatever they're making. You know, if there's one thing, chefs are all over making lots of new kinds of products. I even had a blackberry salsa the other day that a restaurant served. Lots of new products, lots of creativity out there. So don't let it get you discouraged from a standpoint of what products might be able to be developed that would include the product that you grow.